Hey everybody, Josh, KI6NAZ. I have a fairly non-standard video for you today. I did a net with Kevin, W6RIP, who was on my show this last weekend, and we were talking about SOTA, Summits on the Air. I get a lot of questions on kind of what SOTA is and how does one get started. So Kevin goes first. It's on a repeater, so you're going to just be seeing me and a little bit of my radio and some other stuff that I'll be showing, but it's mainly Kevin talking in the beginning, explaining what SOTA is and kind of his journey with SOTA, and then it switches over to me and I talk a little bit about some SOTA hacks, some things I do when I'm planning my SOTA activations, some gear I bring out, and other kind of how-to things. So I hope you find this interesting. Again, this is a bit different than what I normally do. Without further ado though, I hope you have a lot of fun, and let's get started. I almost missed the start of this.
All right, Kevin will be conducting our net this evening on SOTA, and I guess it's time for me to turn it over to you.
SOTA, also.
And by the way, thanks. We really do appreciate this net. K6DTK.
That just came in the mail. So that's good.
All right, thanks, Dave. Great introduction, and thank you, everyone. There's a lot of check-ins and a lot of recognized call signs, chasers and activators, and thanks, Dave, for jumping in. He's out there, or up north in the Southern Sierra region, getting in on Echolink. I asked him to speak on the net today, but he's out of town, but I'm glad he could chime in.
He's going to go for 30 minutes or so?
Name's Kevin, W6RIP, live here in Yucaipa, down in Southern California, obviously, and I am on the San Gorgonio Search and Rescue Team. I've been a ham radio operator for since 2016, and I got into SOTA 2018.
Oh.
Real quick, I just want to make a point to keep transmissions down to about 2 minutes so we don't unlink all the systems that are linked in.
Yeah,
so,
don't do that.
With that, I'm just going to start by saying tonight's going to be me. I'm going to talk about kind of what SOTA is and why we do it. And then I'm going to pass it off to Josh, KI6NAZ. He's going to talk about some weird hacks, gears, lightweight gear, and some other things.
I should probably actually remember all that
stuff. I'm also the SOTA region manager of the W6 Southern Sierra region.
This is how you draw
the one that Dave's at right now.
But
to
open that way.
SOTA is something that you hear very often if you're driving around on 5.2. If you listen on 5.2, you might hear a lot of guys calling out on 5.2 to get some contacts. So, Summits on the Air is an award scheme for radio amateurs and short-wave listeners that encourages portable operation in mountainous areas. SOTA is fully operational in nearly 100 countries across the world. Each country has its own association, which defines the recognized SOTA summits within that association. Each summit earns the activator and chasers a score, which is related to the height of the summit. Certificates are available for various scores, leading to the prestigious Mountain Goat and Shack Sloth trophies.
So you can see the size comparison.
An honor roll for activators and chasers is maintained at the SOTA online database.
I don't know why I'm doing this while also trying to do radio stuff. Crazy. Okay, let's put this away for a second. Let's put the old iPad on top of the new iPad.
And a lot of posts you're going to say just getting outdoors, just being outdoors, getting up on the mountains, getting active. A lot of, in the past, you think ham radio operators, we like to sit in our shacks and rag chew and get on nets, but doing SOTA is going to get you active again, and it's very exciting. You would be super you'd be super surprised about the energy that you feel when you're out in the mountains. When you're hiking, you're getting your blood pumping. There's an energy that it's hard to explain, but when you're done with your hike, then you get it. Any questions so far? Okay. And so SOTA, for Summits on the Air, SOTA goals and challenges are personal, honorable, and trustworthy. The game is teamwork. It takes two to make a contact, and both sides are necessary to complete that contact and complete the mission. Activators and chasers alike are in it to take care of each other. The modes that you can use in Summits on the Air are all modes, all bands, including digital. It's simplex only, no repeaters, no machines. You can use satellites. I haven't done that yet, but I know a few guys that have. It's a whole new
Could you imagine
something else you can do up there on the mountain.
Do a Summits on the Air
so
via satellite?
In order to there's so in the game of SOTA, there's activators, chasers, and shortwave listeners. Activators are the guys that get to the mountaintops. You want to get 4 contacts at a minimum. It's a good rule to get a few more, just in case you botch a call sign or someone gives you a fake one or anything like that.
Or
but
they
I always
don't
shoot
give
for
you
about
one.
6 or 7 contacts. And the chasers are the ones that listen for the call and answer. Shortwave listeners can participate by logging the entire QSO of the activator and the chaser.
I always forget that. I always forget the shortwave listener component, and that's pretty cool, I think.
The summits. So the summits that you can go up on. Qualifying summits are listed in the Association Reference Manual, the ARM manual. So not all just any mountaintop, you can just go up and call it a SOTA summit. There's special ones, there's certain ones based on prominence, height, how close they are to each other. They've all been carefully recognized as SOTA summits over the years. And there's a lot of SOTA summits out there that are untouched, and if you do that, you can stamp your call sign on to be the first activator.
That's cool.
On that summit. And I've gone through when I first started, and went through and tried to find a lot of summits with 0 activators on it, and usually there's a reason. It's on private land, or it's a really hard one to get to.
Yeah, true dat.
Okay, any comments or questions so far? Okay, so something that activators can do, there's a thing called a summit to summit, and that's an activator to activator, peak to peak. That's a really unique QSO when you can get up there and you can get up there with 10 watts and talk across the country. So you know that when you're talking to somebody on another summit, you guys are both working QRP usually, and it's something special. And there's points for that and a special log. Summits are scored by elevation. So a 2,000 foot peak would be about 2 points. 8,000 foot peak would be about 8 points, and a 10,000 foot or anything over, you're going to get 10 points. So, in addition to that, there's bonus points, winter and summer bonus points. So, in the winter, there's lots of snow, traverse pretty hard conditions to traverse. You're going to get 3 bonus points on most of those summits. And during the summer, out in the desert, when it's super hot, you can get the summer bonus points. And bonus points are about 3 points per peak. So a couple tips when you're out there on the mountains. It's kind of neat to do SOTA during contests, VHF contests, worldwide DX contests. There's a lot more people on the radio, a lot more people listening out. You get some of your longest contacts on those days when you got other countries listening in to what's going on over here. One of my furthest contacts is Japan, on 10 watts with a KX2 and a speaker wire antenna from a mountain down near San Diego. And just recently on VHF using a roll-up Dipole during a VHF contest a few weeks ago. I was on a peak somewhere right here in Big Bear, right around Big Bear, and I got down up into Lone Pine, up north, about 185 miles away. So doing it when there's a lot of people out, like on Sundays, it's a lot of fun. When SOTA activators get up on the peak and you're running 10 watts on different antennas that you got or that you put together, it's something special. There's very little noise. You're talking around the country on 10 watts. I routinely, from here in Southern California, get into all parts of Canada and all the East Coast and everywhere in between. Any comments so far? I just want to say if anybody's able to get in on the OA USA Net website, I did a huge post and I included a lot of links, and I'm kind of just going along with what I put together. So you can always reference back to any questions you might have on certain situations or certain parts of this, and click on those links and you'll get a lot of good answers. One second. Okay, so if you're following the post number 1, that photo right there is me and my dog Niwa, and we're up on Constance Peak. Running a KX2 with a 3 amp hour Bioenno lithium iron phosphate battery, and that little speaker wire antenna right there is one I normally use. I was using a separate, different antenna that day, but my SOTA kit right there comes in about 3.5 pounds, and everything fits into a nice little small green soft-sided lunchbox. And there's other photos up on Delaware Mountain, different things, different setups. Got a picture of being up on Mount Whitney, the camping involved in that, backside of Whitney, and some other stuff. So I just want to share some cool photos.
I'm getting like mad text messages. I'm trying to update some stuff as he's talking, so I can
questions so
add
far?
in some little parts.
And please, if you guys have questions, please, this is interactive. It'll actually help me out a little bit. Okay, so one of the things when you want to, there's a thing called spotting. There's different parts of the SOTA website. It actually almost seems like there's 2 SOTA websites. One's the database and one's all the information. It can get a little confusing because you got to log into each one separately, but just use your same name and same passwords, all that stuff. Try to minimize confusion. There's some links for the SOTA Watch page. You can put out alerts, let people know you're going to be on the peak, at what time and what frequency. There is links to obviously the association manual. There is peaks in every state, all over, some more than others, but there's a mapping portion of SOTA, and it'll help you find those SOTA peaks, and especially when they're kind of close to you in certain areas. There's a lot of mountains around you that you'd be surprised are actually SOTA peaks.
Delta Golf Lima.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
This is Kevin, KK6DGL. I had a couple questions on your antenna. Was that a random or long wire antenna, and what gauge was it, and are you using a 9-to-1 unum?
12 gauge, boy.
Or could you elaborate on the antenna setup that you use, how high you need to get it up? Is it just over a tree or anything like that? Thank you.
Always 12 gauge. Always 12 gauge. 20's all right too.
Okay, my favorite antenna, the one that you saw there that I like to do, it's like a L configuration. I run a vertical with a horizontal through a binding post connected to the KX2. When you read the KX2 manual, it kind of recommends that as one of the best antennas to run with that radio. So I made it, and so I use speaker wire. It's a 16 gauge speaker wire. I use a very lightweight Japanese fishing rod to just kind of hang it up over a branch. If there's trees on the summit. If there's no trees on the summit, I have a little tiki torch stake that I can just put right in the ground and stand up that antenna. There's not a lot of weight pulling on it. It's very easy to deploy. Yeah, just through a binding post. It's really simple. It's cut perfectly for 20 meters. No tuning needed. And when I made it, I used my meter to figure out the best way to deploy it.
Can you use a smaller gauge wire, like 20, 22, or does that make it less broad-banded?
No, it means less power.
16 gauge, yeah, that's fairly thick.
I use 26 gauge. It's fine. For QRP, it's fine.
No, it is thick, and I'm actually, and when I first made it, when I first was doing this, I was thinking kind of the, like you said, the broadband, the bandwidth, the thicker the better. Maybe the voice is going to travel a little bit better. I've since bought some 30 gauge. I'm going to do the same exact antenna on 30 gauge, and I'm going to take it up and I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison and get some signal reports and from the same person in the same place at the same time on the same radio, and just to see, because I'm totally curious on that. I'd like to reduce the weight a little bit, and the time has come. So good, very good question, and that's something I'm also wondering.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is Kevin, KK6DJ. I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, because that's what you do in a ham radio.
Any other questions?
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Jeff, WD6USA. Two questions, I think. The first is the power limited to 10 watts, or is that just what you happen to select? And also, what are the most common bands for SOTA work? WD6USA.
There's not going to be questions
Okay,
after
yeah,
me.
there's no limit on watts. When I first started, I had a Yaesu 891, and I took it up and did 100 watts with a chameleon antenna. And then I quickly bought the KX2 because of weight, and in knowing what you can really do with only 10 or 12 watts. KX2 will do 12 watts if you have enough voltage going to it. But no limit. The Yaesu 817 obviously puts out 5 watts. A lot of people use the 817. But yeah, no limit on watts. I don't. There are a lot of people that will go up to drive-ups where you just you drive up most of the way and just finish the hike on foot. You're okay carrying that extra weight and the extra battery weight to do that, and you have a really good time. And the bands go, I really like 20 meters during the day. Is awesome. The noise floor is very low. The range that you get is incredible. It's the go-to band during the day.
20 meters, baby.
And then also running VHF on 2 meters. That's a lot of fun, getting a lot of local traffic. There's a lot of guys that will take up different antennas. My antenna that I usually take up is cut for 20 meters. So I always do that. And there's always plenty of contacts on 20 meters. I have a different dipole that I can tune to 40, 17, 12, different bands like that. So it just depends what your antenna is, and the KX2 has the tuner built in. So if you can get any antenna, your tuner, you can run your infeds, anything that you want to do. It's limitless as far as the bands and the modes go. You just can't get a QSO off of a repeater. You can use a repeater to get people to come over to 5.2 for you on VHF, but that's about it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. It sounds pretty good. That answers those questions. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for presenting tonight. WD6USA. Back to that.
All right, thank you.
Now is the time where we just restore from iCloud for the next hour or so.
Okay, so some other stuff that I was linking on here. I hope I don't repeat myself on some of this, but maybe I'll go a little bit more in depth. So the awards there's a lot of different awards that are available. Obviously the Mountain Goat and the Shack Sloth Award, if you get 1,000 points, you get one of those awards. You have to send in for it, and you pay with your own money because this is a personal reward scheme. So Mountain Goat, 1,000 points. That means you're, like I said, all the different summits have different point ranges. You can only activate one summit per year. You can every year you can kind of hit the same group of summits if you want, or you can go 100% unique, or as many as uniques as you can, like Jerry does. And same goes for Shack Sloth. You get 1,000 points. So if I'm activating an 8-point peak,
I don't know that I'll ever get
around here, and somebody calls me, then they get 8 chaser points for that. And there could be chasers can get 8 points per day chasing the same peaks. So activators, you got to work a little bit harder for those points.
Delta Golf Lima.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It's KK6DGL. I had another question about the activating on a summit. You said you can only do a summit once a year. Can you do a summit more than once a year if you use a different band or mode each time? Or once you go up there, you have to pick your band or do each mode? I assume you can get multiple points for different bands or different modes. KK6DGL, back to you.
Okay, good question. No, it's once per year, any band, any mode, however you choose to do it. If you want to drive up to Keller Peak and activate Keller Peak, that's 8 points, and you can only do it once a year.
That's it. Because I'd be up at Pacifico all the time.
You choose one band or one mode, and that's it. You can't go to 20, 40, and 2 meter in the same day and get multiple points.
You can do multiple summits.
So you can go to as many bands as you want, and you get your 4 contacts. You can get 100 contacts. There's no change in the point value for that summit. It's up to you, and we like to go up there and play radio. So you try different bands, try different antennas, but you get your 4 contacts. You log your 4 contacts, or you log your 50 contacts, whatever it is, whatever modes. You could use 10 bands if you want to get all your QSOs, but it's still going to be just the 8 points for activating that peak on that day.
Period. End
okay,
of
that
story.
makes sense. KK6DGL, back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions out there? Okay, thanks. So the next one is kind of selecting summits. Josh is going to talk about selecting summits and peaks. I'm just going to briefly talk about it. It's there's a lot of different skill levels. There's a lot of different things that you can do. There's drive-ups. There's hikes that are 1 mile. There's hikes that are 10 miles. There's peaks that are 1,000 foot. There's peaks that are 14,000 foot. It's a wide range of peaks, and that's why a lot of people can get involved based on their skill level, and you can find those right summits on the website. All right, and so the next thing is weather. So when you're also doing those peaks, you're always going to be checking the weather, checking the apps, doing your homework, and paying attention to different conditions. Call it walking gear, hiking gear.
Which one's Pacifico?
Make sure you get your right clothing, the right size pack. Keep your 10 essentials with you, emergency kits, snack rations, navigational tools, map, compass knowledge, and it's a good thing to plan your hikes in advance using Gaia. I'll talk about that again in a second, but I like planning my hikes and seeing it on the computer before I go, that I know how much water to take, know where to resupply water, and so forth. Okay, mapping and planning. I use Gaia GPS, Gaia GPS for navigation. It links up to your phone, and also you can work it on your desktop. I like putting it on my desktop planning, and then I can put in some tracks, trails, different stuff, and it'll link right up to my phone. When you're using your phone out there in the wilderness, obviously keep an extra little battery with you. Don't always count on it, but I've been pretty lucky, knock on wood, that my phone hasn't let me down yet on a lot of different peaks. So what I use also for mapping and planning, just so you guys know, Josh is going to talk about this, I think, a little bit. SOTA Peak info page on our association manual online, and there's a lot of people that will type in different links to different trail reports. I also like using Peak Bagger. The Peak Bagger app has a lot of good beta on hikes, and then reaching out to your fellow SOTA guys, and if they've done that summit, and everybody wants to help everybody, and they'll share their tracks. And just quick touch on experience. If you're new, obviously reach out, do your homework, plan ahead, and always practice in your backyard or a park before you get up to a SOTA peak. Okay, so at the summit. So when you get up, after you do your hike, you're on the summit, just make yourself comfortable, enjoy the views, enjoy the weather, enjoy the fresh air. Just know that a summit is 75 feet within the highest elevation. So there's a lot of peaks up there that where you got to do some rock scrambling to get to the very top. Well, if you're down in a flatter spot within 75 feet of that, you're in the activation zone and you're golden. There's only there's certain conditions when you want to set up a HF station, and safety is first, obviously.
This thing's fast.
Delta Golf Lima again.
This guy has a lot of questions. It's good. Good questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So my question is, for handy hams and others that maybe can't do a hike, are there rules, or I think there are some summits which require less of a hike, or you can drive up to. How does that work? How is that accommodated to help people that otherwise wouldn't be able to make it up to an elevation or do a hike or something like that? Perhaps they were in a wheelchair or crutches or had other disabilities. KK6, go back to you. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome question. So there are drive-ups. The only requirement on SOTA is that you finish the hike on your own power. So I don't think there's a rule of how far. It could be 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever you feel comfortable with. You just can't drive your car there and jump outside and do it right there. You kind of got to, like I said, it's a personal challenge, personal goal, but I think that you could do it, just finishing up, 50-foot hike just with your carrying. The idea is just to carry your own gear, being super portable, that kind of stuff.
I'm drinking some wine.
There's Thomas Mountain down in Idlewild, which is a great one. You can drive all the way to the top. There's a campground at the top. You're just going to want to kind of park down a little bit and hike your way up to the top. I mean, like I said, I don't think there's a certain length that you have to hike. You just have to finish it on your own power. So, like as far as motorcycles and mountain bikes, just anything that's not motorized. You're not going to want to ride a motorbike up there or an electric mountain bike. Kind of finish your hike on there, and it's all honor system. There's the rules, and you want to follow them as best you can and be honorable about it. But a mountain bike is under your own power and perfectly fine, just as if you're on your own feet. But let me break. So I would say, on Keller Peak, if you drove up to the top and then hiked your way to the top of to the fire lookout, that's you're finishing the hike. Mount Pacifico is another one where there's a campground at the top. There's been a time where if you're at the top and there's a campground and you're going to camp, what I've done before is I stop about 100 yards short and I carry my backpack and all my stuff and what I'm going to do my SOTA with, and I go up there and activate the summit. Then I come back down, get my truck and drive it up, park it, and camp for the night.
Wonder if he's got more in him.
Thank you, Kevin. KK6DGL, back to you.
This is a gamble I'm about to take here.
All right, thank you. And like I said, I don't think there's any kind of length. So whether it's 10 feet, 20 feet, it is what it is. And obviously, you're not going to be using the vehicle for battery power. You got to have your own portable battery power, just to throw that in there too. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So next is you think about your radio kit and how much weight you want to carry. Like I said, I started out with my Yaesu 891, and it was just a little too heavy because obviously the bigger radio, you need a bigger battery, and you're looking at 5 to 10 pounds for that combination right there. So I quickly moved to the KX2 and a little 3-amp-hour battery, and like I said, my radio kit is about 3.5 pounds, and if I throw some other little trinkets in there, 4 pounds is not a bad weight. There are some guys out there that are ultra portable CW radio kits are less than about a pound. It's amazing. So new battery, adapters. Always remember to bring your adapters. Double check your case, your radio kit before you leave. And we've all done it before. I just recently forgot my my binding post on one of my last activations and couldn't do HF. So there's lots of different things that happen when you're on the peak, and when you get up on the peak on the top, and that's when you find out you're missing something. It's kind of like the worst possible.
He told me he's going to talk for 30 minutes.
Okay, so part of that rail kit, you like to carry a dual band HT. A lot of guys like to have an HT that has APRS in it, and you can use APRS to spot. We'll talk about that later a little bit. And then, so as far as if you're only VHF, if you're a technician and you're only VHF, you can look into getting some aero beams, the roll-up J-pole, and different things like that. They got a 3 dB gain, if not, for the roll-up J-pole, and then I think about 9 dB gain for some of those aero beam antennas, and really get some really good range on them. CW is the most widely used mode for SOTA. You got the smallest and lightest of kits when you do CW. As far as the power supply goes, lots of different batteries out there. Some of the best, some of the latest and greatest ones are obviously the lithium iron phosphate batteries. BioNO Power is a solid maker for those batteries. A lot of people like to make their own batteries. Just be careful. So you can get the right size battery for the right amount of wattage that you want to run. I'm sorry, I was going to keep. Is there a question? Go ahead.
Let's check it.
Okay. So antennas and deployment. There's lots of different antennas. Chameleon makes an antenna. SOTA makes a lot of portable antennas. You can make your own antennas like I have and like Jerry has. And so a lot of the other guys just run their 9-to-1s and their infeds. And there's a lot of different stuff you can do. You got to kind of be conscious of how much room you have on the summit. And you definitely want to practice deploying it before you go up there. Practice in a park, your backyard, hook it up to a meter. There's a lot of different ways to deploy things. And you want to practice that first. What to expect when you're on the summit? Obviously, weather can change very quickly. So be prepared for that. Be prepared. There's going to be people with questions, and when you're up at altitude, there's going to be a little bit of confusion with less oxygen. And if you forgot something, there's going to be some frustration. And there's a lot of summits that have repeaters on them. Obviously, like Killer Peak, Onyx Peak. Over by Mount Wilson, Occidental Peak. One of the things that you run into with repeaters on those peaks is all the RF that's going through there. So one of the little tips that I did, if you ever go up to a peak that has a repeater on it, use your body to stand between your antenna and the repeater antennas.
That's
the
a good
RF
tip.
does not go through your body, and it makes an amazing amount of difference. It took me about 20 minutes of calling CQ and not hearing a word. And then when all of a sudden I took my roll-up J-pole and put it kind of between me, I put my body between me and the antennas, and all of a sudden I could hear people. It was amazing. So little trick on that. KE6TZT.
Kevin, I'm going to be drunk by the time that I'm on.
Chasers, logging, and spotting.
Is this what you wanted,
Kevin? SOTA Watch 3 on your desktop, or you can there's an app called SOTA Spotter for Android, and then there's SOTA Goat on Apple. You can also use SMS. You can text SOTA spots, and you can use your APRS and your Garmin devices to also spot. So if you're thinking about what a spot is you're throwing out a call basically online that you're saying, I'm at this peak, I'm ready, I'm calling CQ, I'm on this frequency, come find me. And then there's a thing called alerting. So there's a difference between spotting and alerting. Alerting is basically the day before you put out the alert, so people know that you're going to be planning on going up to a peak, and they can be watching out for you.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is KN6FWT. I'm not near my computer. Are these links in the article that's on the website for Keller Peak?
Yeah, buddy.
Not for Keller Peak. It's on the oausa.net website under the net previews.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
No problem. Thank you. And you can also just look up SOTA.uk.org. All the links. I just kind of broke up a lot of links just to make them a little bit more specific. But you go to SOTA.uk.org, and everything's on there. It'll answer all your questions. Okay, just a couple more things before I break for Josh. The exchange when you're on top of the summit is you exchange your call signs, signal reports, and a short QSO if you want, and with a 73 on the end. Simple, quick, and sweet. Final 2 words of warning, it's addictive. I finally got a W6KLE to get up on a summit, and he did it the other day, and he's already saying it's addicting. He was up on, he's down in the Los Padres National Forest over the weekend. So it happens, and you end up doing it when you're ready. So you learn about it, but all of a sudden it kind of hits you, and you feel like you need to. Okay, any last questions so far before I pass it off to Josh?
Go ahead, ask some questions. Okay.
All right, thank you guys. I'm going to pass it to Josh, and then after that, I'll talk about Wilderness Protocol, and we'll finish it up. So with that, KI6NAZ, go ahead.
KI6NAZ, hey Kevin, W6RIP, thank you very much for the intro, and thank you for going first. I love it when people that know the rules better than me go first. That helps out a lot. So my name is Josh. I'm in Cerritos, and I've done a few SOTA activations. I like to do a little bit of camping when I do them, but what I'm going to be talking about today is kind of aiming to be light, and that includes your gear and also kind of your before work that you do. So as Kevin mentioned, I use SOTAmaps.org. Most of your activities will probably start here. SOTAmaps.org is your friend. It can have a little bit more complicated navigation. So the basic way of looking at it is if you're on the website, the top left side will say choose an association. You're going to go with W6 for USA. And if you're kind of looking around the LA Basin, Angeles Forest, San Gabriel's, whatnot, you want to be in W6-CT for transverse ranges. And I'll just use an example, something Kevin mentioned earlier. Pacifico Mountain, that's in last November, I did a camp out where we had about 9 people that camped overnight on the summit. Everybody that wanted to activate it was able to activate, and it's a hike, nice little hike that you got to make it to the top, and you can camp there overnight, all part of your adventure pass that you get for San Gabriel's. So if you pull up CT-015, that's Pacifico Mountain, and that's its summit identifier. When you're on that page, you'll see a box pop up, and that'll give you a lot of information on where it's located. And if you click it, the link at the top, it'll bring up activation reports. I'll go ahead and reset. Now, when you're in that more information page, that's where you're going to see somebody like Jerry, KG6HQD, show up, because he's been very prolific in going in and filling out kind of his trail report and his activation. So use that to your advantage. Take advantage of not just the activation reports that are on SOTA Maps, but also there'll be sometimes links to YouTube videos, and that helps a lot. So that kind of starts your journey into understanding the different mountains in your area, ones you might want to tackle. It's often good to kind of look at the point values. A 4 is something middle of the road. A 1 is obviously the lowest, but you know what? I'll tell you what, I've had 1s that kicked my butt because I walked up and down, up and down, up and down to get to the summit because it was not very tall, but you had to walk a long way to get to your goal. So keep that in mind. That's where the second thing I do is I use like satellite images for Google Maps and whatnot to kind of give me a lay of the land to figure out what do the paths look like? Is there sun exposure? The side of the mountain that you'll be going up, is it going to be in the path of the sun? Is there any greenery to shade? All those things are really nice to know before you venture out. As far as navigation goes, once you decide, kind of where you're going, sometimes I'll print out a map. Kevin mentioned Gaia. Gaia is an application. I think it's on both Android and iPhone. I use it on the iPhone. The advantage of Gaia, you can download a map, and that allows you to keep the maps local to you on the phone, which helps out a lot. But paper maps are still really good and advantageous because they're not going to run out of batteries. So that really helps. So upfront research will save you a load of time. As I mentioned, what's on the way to the summit, how long is the path, where do you park, all these things you can do from the comfort of your home. In fact, right in front of the TV on your iPad or laptop, you can research your next SOTA activation, which is really nice. You feel like a couch potato, start planning your next SOTA activation. One of the things I'll mention kind of before we move on to the day of the hike kind of stuff, pay attention to what the summit looks like on the summit where you're going to be activating from. Pacifico Mountain is great. There are picnic tables. There are trees. You can put your antenna in the tree. You can sit underneath the shade of the tree and enjoy the picnic table for putting your radios on. Something like Bertha Peak in Big Bear, not so much. There's radio equipment up there, and there's not a whole lot to sit on, and there's not a whole lot of space. So that could kind of dictate what antenna you may need when you actually get out there and get activated. Okay, so you've got the day of the hike planned. You know where you're going. The first thing I like to do is let the family know where you're going, right? Leave a piece of paper, an email, a text message. Tell them, roughly where you're going, where you're going to park your car. And if you are so inclined, I highly recommend this if you have the capability, let them know how to use aprs.fi and what your call sign will be. Use your call sign with a -7 or something like that. Make sure you tell them, maybe even set up a bookmark on their phone. They can just pull it up and find out where you're at. It might sound redundant, but your gear extends all the way to what you're driving in that gets you to the mountain, because oftentimes we're going off-road, at least off pavement, to get to where we're going. So make sure you check your tire levels, fluid levels, all those standard things. Sorry to be a nag about it, but you definitely don't want to be in the middle of the nowhere where things will happen. For myself, this is kind of one of my little hacks too, including some of the other things I already mentioned. I bring a little whiteboard with me, a little dry erase whiteboard. And on that whiteboard, I'll put my cell phone number, what frequency I'm monitoring for VHF, UHF, what my day plans are. I'm going to go to Pacifico Mountain. I'm going to spend the night, blah, blah, blah. And that gives information if anybody comes looking for you or you need help or there's a fire and they don't know who to get in touch with. That's a good way of kind of keeping you safe when you're out there. As far as in my car that remains at the bottom of the trailhead or whatnot, I like to leave extra water in there for after. Maybe some ibuprofen. I've got a bad knee, so that always helps with that. I personally like a cherry limeade Bang energy drink. That's my favorite after a hike, and a Vietnamese sandwich called a banh mi. I'll pause for any questions if anybody has them. Okay, very good. KI6NAZ. So on the hike itself, so you got to your location. Hopefully you've incorporated some of these things. You know where you're going. You know your navigation, and so you start to set out on the hike. Generally, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. I ditch my heavy boots for all but winter hiking, and I use trail runners nowadays. They're much lighter. They're breathable. They seem to work way better with me for avoiding getting blisters, so that's a big deal for me. And I try to use pants that have zip-off legs for just when it's hot or when it's cold, you want to change. It makes it a lot easier. And because I have a bad knee, always trekking poles. And that helps, too, with the weight that you're carrying as far as distributing that weight around. Because, if you think of your regular day hike and you're strapping a radio on top of that day hike pack, the weight can go up pretty quickly. I've done a lot of stuff to kind of reduce the weight of my kit, and in most cases I'll be at least 12 pounds before adding water. And so that's pretty light for a day hike, but it goes up significantly once you start packing overnight stuff. The big thing, though, is you're going to be on a summit, so big reminder, make sure you're worried about sun exposure. I wear UV shirts with a hood generally and a hat and lots of sunblock, particularly when you're on the summit. That's when I worry about that the most. As far as where I pack it all, I put it into a lightweight pack. The pack I use is a hyper light mountain gear. I think it's a 30 liter or 40 liter. And definitely include your personal first aid kit and your 10 essentials. I'll reset here. Any questions before I go on? Okay, very good. So 10 essentials, just right out of the Boy Scouts. You know, you got your navigation. A headlamp is a great idea. I mentioned sun protection, personal first aid kit, some kind of knife. The hack that I'll add to this a little bit is make sure you have like a Leatherman or some kind of multi-tool. I have used the multi-tool needle nose pliers on activations more than I've ever used a blade when doing a SOTA activation. I seem to always end up needing some kind of pliers or capability there. Fire, you know, Bic lighter's fine. Shelter's the one thing I generally don't pack unless I'm staying overnight, but there's no reason you can't get a, I think it's an SOL brand bivy bag. Those are extremely lightweight. I'll generally bring a mountain house or something along like that to the summit because I'm generally getting there, trying to get there early in the morning, so I want to make coffee when I'm on the top of the hill. So I'll bring a tri-fuel canister of fuel from Walmart and some kind of burner, a simple little pot to cook coffee, and then when I'm done I'll make some food or something like that. And pack water accordingly. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but there's some research you can do online as far as how much water you should bring. Assume in most cases these are going to be dry hikes, so you are generally not going to have a water source. That changes a little bit as it gets colder, but in general I just assume I'm not going to have water. And extra clothes, I always bring a top layer of some kind, a floppy hat, and UV gloves in addition to whatever I'd be wearing when on a hike. Pause for a break. All right, so you complete your hike. Hopefully it was not too much fanfare, and you're at the summit. The first thing that generally people want to do is just plop that pack down and maybe take a rest. For me, usually I'm kind of sweaty when I get to the summit. I've probably taken some layers off, and I immediately start to assemble the antenna. This is just something I do. For those that have done it other ways, you might want to try this. The way I look at it is my heart rate's up. Generally, most of the summits I've done, there's somewhat of a scramble at the last bit. So I like to get the antenna out of the way and kind of use that as a cool down to dry off a little bit. So I'll assemble my antenna, whatever it is I'm working with at that time, a dipole, an end-fed half wave or whatnot. And that kind of allows me to dry off, and then I sit down in whatever the situation may be. If I'm pulling out a pack chair that I packed up, one of those lightweight ones you can get at REI, or a pack table, you know, that's fine, or at a picnic table. And that's when I'll go ahead and throw the layer back on, because you can get cold pretty quickly. You'd be surprised. You go from kind of an energetic type activity of hiking to the top of a summit, and then all of a sudden you're up there, your blood's pumping, and now you need to revert that into more of a fine motor control, brain thinking kind of activity, and you can get cold pretty quickly. So dry off and then get to activating. Sometimes you can't help it, but in the summer and springtime you definitely can. Regarding creature comforts when you're on the summit, again, this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. You definitely want to, if there is nowhere to sit at the top of the mountain, there's no reason not to throw, you know, one of your old ground mats you used to sleep on that you kind of kept around for a really long time. You don't know why you keep it. Cut that down into quarters and maybe bring a piece of that, and that's a good little sit-all that you can use, and it goes great up against your back when you're packing your backpack. Like I said, I usually take a super lightweight hiking chair. These are available at REI for, I think, under $100, particularly on sale days. And I found a small table. It seems to line up perfectly with the REI chair, and I can get my radio and everything I need to activate right on it. And so you got your radio, you got your antenna, get it all out. Those creature comforts help out a lot. Any questions? I'll pause. Okay, KI6NAZ. So before you start out and you've done your research and all that, and you've decided, hey, I'm going to go to this mountain, you're likely going to put out what's called an alert. And I think Kevin mentioned it, but An alert's usually something you put out a day or two beforehand, and it's really good to put out an alert because it lets people know that you're going to be out there around so-and-so time. The one thing I'll tell you, though, is don't get too excited about it, and it's great to have a plan, but immediately prepare to toss the plan, because there has never been in a time where I set an alert for a specific frequency or even a set of frequencies. I got to the summit and I actually got that frequency. It's never happened. I've always had to look around, because the one thing you'll experience in it, and it's actually, I think, my most favorite thing about SOTA, you get set up, you got your antenna on the air, you're sitting down, you're getting in front of the radio, and you turn it on. And you look at your radio and you think to yourself, did I actually turn this thing on? Is it working? You'll never experience a quieter noise floor or radio experience. In most cases, some of the mountains can be a little noisy. So I'll pause for a second. Sorry, I had to take a drink. So you got this wonderfully quiet noise floor. It's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the big things that I like about activating. But once you get out there, you're going to hear signals you've never really heard before when you're down at home or whatnot. And it's likely that you're going to hear wall-to-wall activity, particularly if it's a Saturday morning when I generally end up activating, or a Sunday morning. So just be prepared that you're going to have to move things around. Now, because of that, when you go to spot, and so it is a self-spot activity, when you go to spot, you're going to pick a frequency, but maybe you look down at your phone and you realize, oh no, I don't have any signal. So it's really going to be hard for you to spot. I'll mention this. I can't really go into the details because it's more of a visual thing, and depending on which radio you have. There are ways to self-spot via APRS. Kevin might even have done a video on it. I think Jerry has for sure. So make sure to go look them up. Again, that's Jerry KG6HQD and Kevin W6RIP on YouTube. And they do a fantastic job of explaining what you need to do with your HT to go ahead and spot your location and let people know that's the frequency you're on. And that helps a lot. Oftentimes, the shacks lost that are chasing you when you're in an area that doesn't have good signal, you can ask them to put out a spot on your behalf. And that also helps a lot, too. So alerts are great, but likely you won't get the frequency. But when people do find you and you don't have signal, and maybe you can't do the APRS thing, make sure to ask them for a spot. So break for a second. Nope. I think I went over. Sorry about that. KI6NAZ. All right, so the antennas that I generally use, I'll talk through some of these quickly, and then we'll move on to radios. The most successful antenna that I've had so far has been the QRP Guys 3-band vertical. That covers 20 meters, 30 meters, and 40 meters. And it is a trapped vertical. 20 meters is fully resonant with no coils, and that's been really effective on 20 meters. Kevin mentioned 20 meters is kind of like the money band for SOTA, and I absolutely agree. 20 meters is great. I did a talk Christmas time last year, and I was talking about that antenna and showing pictures of some of my activations that I had used. And it turned out that the designer of that antenna was in the talk, so it was pretty fun when that happened. I've also had good luck with the QRP Guys end-fed half-wave. These are all kits you can buy. They're very inexpensive. The only thing you have to supply with both of them is the wires. Kevin mentioned, I think he said 16-gauge wires. I've gotten away with 24, 22, and actually 26 gauge for a lot of wires I use, because again, it's QRP power, so you're not going to be so worried about what that takes to handle that. The extra diameter is going to give you the ability to handle extra power, so unless you're planning on lugging a 100-watt radio up there, you don't really have to worry about it that much. I'll pause if there's any questions. All right, making it easy. I'll continue right along. The other antenna I've had some luck with, but this is entirely hit and miss, is the Elecraft AX1. And that is a 15, 17, and 20 meter stock vertical kit. It's a coiled antenna with a vertical whip. Now, the reason why I say that's hit and miss is I've never really been successful with that antenna shown as advertised on the side of the radio. However, when I've mounted it to a small tripod using a little adapter bracket the Elecraft sells, I was able to make a contact from a hotel room in Prescott, Arizona to Japan, single sideband on 10 watts. And I used it on that same trip to Prescott to activate a SOTA summit out in Prescott. Worked fine. It seems to work better when it's on a tripod. I don't know why, other than maybe the way that it connects to the radial is a bit different. It uses that tripod connection, which has been great. The other antenna that's been very successful, and anyone can make it, as Kevin mentioned, he has a modified version of this, but the speaker wire dipole has been great. The only downside of the speaker wire dipole is you will likely need some kind of mast, and sometimes guying a mast when you're in heavy winds is kind of a pain in the butt, so keep that in mind. Kevin mentioned an Edfong J-pole. I carry an Edfong J-pole as well. In addition, on my HT, I always carry a Signal Stuff signal stick. It's an antenna made by the creator of hamstudy.org. He uses the sales to fund the free website for ham radio training, so I always recommend it, and I've completed activations with that before in really difficult times. I'll pause for any questions. All right, so a bit of hack of antenna throwing and antenna getting up in the air. Bring yourself something like a Crown Royal bag, or think about a Crown Royal bag in your head and maybe shrink it down a little bit, and some lightweight throwing line. So I bring an empty sack that's pretty small like that, and I add rocks from the summit into it, and that's what I use as my throw bag when getting something like a end-fed half wave up into the air. So that's something I do that's been really successful. As far as radios I use, I've been very successful with the Elecraft KX2. It's very simple to use on single sideband, and I haven't actually completed a activation where I didn't have to dip into single sideband, but it's obviously very good in for CW as well. In addition to that, I've used the Xiegu X5105. That is a 5-watt only QRP radio. And it's been a solid performer, but it has an overheat issue, at least mine does. So if you're going to a very hot, no shade added summit, keep that in mind because it can overheat on you. And my HT of choice, for sure, no question, is the Yaesu FT3DR. I'm a big fan of that. I love the APRS application of that and how easy it is to use. So that's my big recommendation. So I will pause for any questions for radios or antennas, anything along those lines.
Quick comment, RIP.
Yeah, go for it, Kevin.
All right, thank you. Awesome. Also, the overheating issue will happen with the KX2. These little black radios just absorb all that heat. It's happened before. It's nice to take your little hat or something, just cover it up, some shade on it, where it's not in direct sunlight, and it'll do wonders. Also, if you're possible in some rainy environments, carry like a 1 or 2 gallon Ziploc bag that you can use to put your radio in to protect from the water. Back to you, Josh.
KI6NAZ. Great comment, and I love the segue you're offering me. One of the first things I did when I got the KX2 was attach an aftermarket heatsink that attaches to the right-hand side. I've posted about it on my Instagram, and there's a video of it on YouTube as well. With that, I have not had any overheating issues, so it's been fantastic, and I use it for digital modes, not just on the summits, but kind of wherever I go when I travel. That KX2 goes with me, and I use it for digital. So in closing, I'll add a couple of non-radio things that I would recommend you think about or pack along with you. Cameras are great to bring. I know Kevin has a big boy camera that he brings out. Your phone's great, no question. I generally will also pack something like a DJI Osmo Pocket, which is a small pocketable camera. I mount that to tripods, and I'm able to take amazing 4K time lapses that will actually pan the skyline. Wonderful, wonderful thing to have out when you're on top of a summit. It's really hard for people to kind of appreciate some of the majesty that's out there when you get up high on some of these larger summits, how absolutely breathtaking it is. And if you can make a 360 pan shot with a camera that will handle, you know, the mobile turning without obviously the human in the loop messing it up. It's absolutely a wonderful thing. So keep that in mind. I'm not trying to spend your money, but I seem to be good at that. Also, I've been testing something called a GQD Pocket 2 laptop. It's probably only a bit bigger than your phone, and it runs Windows 10. And so far, I've been very impressed with that for portable, mobile, digital use. So I've not been very successful trying digital on SOTA activations. I've attempted it a couple of times. I've always fallen back on single sideband. But in the future, we've got options to make that a lot easier. So anyway. So that's my talk. I'll take any questions before it goes back to Kevin, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I am KI6NAZ. Thank you for listening on the net tonight. I don't think people liked it. Okay, I'll throw it back to Kevin, W6RIP. Thanks again. It's not the same without images.
Thanks, Josh. Awesome
I
job.
like pictures.
Before I get started on some other stuff, I wanted to reach out.
Me personally.
Dave, KM3A, are you still listening?
Oh, my noise. Where's my noise?
The time is 2100 hours.
Okay, guess not. He's up there in he's up there in the mountains right now doing some really cool stuff, and I was going to have him just chime in and tell us what he's doing and what the trip's like. All right. Like on the website or on the OAUSA.net site, lots of good links. They're all kind of, when you get into the SOTA website, you got to kind of look around for different things about the rules and the activator guidelines and stuff like that. So I try to simplify it for everyone. You could always revert back to this as a reference. One of the things I wanted to talk about is wilderness protocol. And something super important. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's a thing, and it's a really good thing. So wilderness protocol is listening out on a calling frequency, and it could be 2 meters, 70 centimeters, different things. I personally like to just listen out on 2 meters on 146520. That way, you're given your whole 5 minutes. So basically, what it is 7 a.m. Every 3 hours, 7, 10, 1, 4. 7. Every 3 hours, you're listening for 5 solid minutes on a calling frequency and listening out for anybody that needs help, that you can help render aid. The idea behind this is being out in the wilderness and you have a ham radio and you need help. You don't want to waste that battery. You don't know if you're going to be out there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So you want to conserve your battery by listening out and also transmitting during those specific times. I put together a simplified version of that on my YouTube channel, just trying to really preach it and get the word out about it. Doing search and rescue, it would be awesome if all if not most hikers would carry some sort of ham radio and a little Baofeng Chinese radio. And just in case they needed to call for help, and
even
so
without
people
a
know
license.
these ham radios, in a
I
by
want you to get
emergency,
licensed,
you don't need to be licensed. It can help save your life, and it's been proven. There's a video link on the post that I put, and it's from KM6TWY. He put together an awesome video on how he was going up Mount Baden-Powell and basically got onto an ice sheet and used the wind system to call for help. Before he was a ham radio operator, but he had that thing. He was planning on it. He was practicing. He was listening. He was studying, but he needed it, and it saved his life. Okay, and so one of the reasons I like doing the ham radio thing and also the YouTube thing is because it's spreading the word and sharing the joy and the views and doing something that you can share. I like carrying a camera all the time. When Jerry KG6HQD was kind of like, I guess, the godfather of the Southern California SOTA. He did some awesome videos, and all of a sudden people start getting involved. They could see what it was about, and you know, he's always there to answer questions. Any questions going forward? All right, thank you. So some of the things that I preach also is different ways to stay in touch from the wilderness. I always say there's three things that you have: a phone, a ham radio, and a Garmin. And a lot of people like to laugh when I say your cell phone. You would be tremendously surprised about the range you can get with your cell phone from a SOTA peak. I had cell phone service on Mount Whitney. Once you get up to a summit, a cell phone 4G is line of sight, just like radio. It does the same thing. So if you can picture your little HT putting out 5 watts and being able to talk 70 miles, your cell phone is going to be able to reach into those nice little local cities to the cell phone towers, and you also will have a signal. So the three things: so ham radio, your phone, and a Garmin inReach. Obviously, having satellite communications is tremendous. Depending on where you're going, I've done stuff here in Southern California where there's a lot of people around, a lot of cities around. I've also been up to Washington with Jerry, going through Mount Rainier National Park,
cool video.
And we
by the way,
made a couple summits
W6RIP,
up there. Having the Garmin was awesome. Being able to spot with it, being able to reach out. You can text through it. People can text you back. A lot of good stuff. A lot of people will say personal beacons are good too, which they are, but everyone has their own preference. I personally just like the Garmin inReach for its unique capabilities and versatility. Any questions on any of that stuff?
Question regarding the wilderness protocol. So are the every 3 hours, I take it, that's starting at 2,400 hours, so it's 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. KK
7 a.m.
WFJ.
Why do people get that confused? I don't understand. There's probably multiple people that...
All right. You start at, basically it's 7, you start at 7 a.m. If people are normally listening throughout the daytime, when people are hiking, obviously you get overdue hikers and you have to listen overnight, but you start 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 a.m., every 3 hours, starting at 7 a.m.
That's it.
Roger that.
All right, thank you. And then there's, like I said, there's a couple videos of wilderness protocol. If you go on YouTube and type in wilderness protocol, you're going to see Jerry's video and my video. I did a little simplified version of it. Jerry did a more in-depth version of it. And if you type that in on YouTube, the video will pop up and it'll answer all your questions and the reason behind it and how a lot of people listen for that and help local hikers. And it's the more people that can be doing this, the better it could be. And if we were out on a search and listening for that kind of stuff, we could find people in 5 hours instead of 5 days. There's a search about a year ago that lasted 3 or 4 days, and finding out where they were at. If they just had a ham radio, it would have been awesome. It would have been so fast, so smooth, so easy. Just people need to learn, and we need, us as amateur radio operators and sharing the knowledge, we need to share it. So with your ham radio groups, people you talk to on Twitter or anything else, spread the word about Wilderness Protocol and reference those videos so people can get the word out.
Make sure you go look at K6ARK as well on YouTube.
Yeah,
Sub him.
Comment on top of that one. Go ahead.
Videos on SOTA activations. Amazing. I feel like dead weight on these because Kevin really is the expert. He's also search and rescue trained, so it's like I'm just hanging out.
Okay, earlier there's a little bit of double and somebody
again,
said comment.
you really should sub him.
Go ahead,
just getting the word out about the good stuff he's doing. In fact, let's go to his channel. We're just going to troll his channel while we Troll his channel.
Maybe I answered the question. Okay, another thing is another great resource if you're getting out and getting just learning about hiking the mountains.
There's the man
like
right
I said,
there, lounging.
I'm not a Boy Scout. I didn't hike when I was younger. We never did a lot of camping with my dad, but I wanted to learn.
All these pictures are his, by the way. He takes amazing photographs. I used a lot of his pictures on the
You can get it on Amazon. That book is the hiking, mountaineering Bible.
Fantastic
Everything that you
pictures.
need to know about gear and clothes
Look at that Dover.
and techniques and just everything is in that book.
The light there freaks me out a little bit.
Any questions so far?
That's for the YouTube.
Yeah, that's on YouTube, buddy.
Give it a second and then ask your question.
Look at that, man. Kevin's a cool dude. I'm really glad he came out to the camp. Very exciting to see him.
Come back with your call sign and your question. Just don't quit key listening.
ET address for the YouTube that you have.
All right, now let's go check.
Okay, if you just go on YouTube and type in my call sign W6RIP, it'll pop right up. My channel is W6RIP Radio Adventures, and it'll pop right up. Then you can click on videos and search through all the videos and different things that I've done. Thank you.
We picked a winner for his giveaway on the Pacifico hike. Guys, he only has 1.73K subscribers. Seriously, help this man out, because he puts up
since we're
awesome
plugging
content.
YouTube channels, there's also a
Look how
great
much he used to put up.
YouTube series on SOTA. It's called SOTA 360, and it's done by Chris. His call sign is November 1, Charlie Lima Charlie. He put together about a 7 or 8 video series called SOTA 360 from beginning to end. Great information in there. Kind of what we're doing tonight, trying to cram into about an hour and a half, but he puts it together in detail and walks you through it. So N1 CLC is his channel. Christian Claiborne is his name. On the post that I put up, there's a link for his channel.
Yeah, so...
Oh, okay, well, thank you very much. I'll pass that around, too.
I'll give him a little bit of a razz. His thumbnails need some work. I gotta talk to him about that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Nice
and some other channels some guys around here that are down in Southern California really spreading the word about SOTA.
He shot this.
And giving great videos and great guidance and helping with information, anywhere from antenna building to small portable radio building, CW, little portable CW kits, just amazing stuff. So if you guys want to write down some of these if you're not able to get on the website and look up the links, so the call signs are KG6HQD, Kilo Golf 6, Hotel Quebec Delta. I already talked about mine. Then we have Josh. Josh has the best ham radio YouTube channel known to YouTube. The gentleman that was just speaking, he has a ham radio crash course. If you type in ham radio crash course, he does everything involved in radio.
Not everything yet, but just give me time.
Another one is K6ARK
there
portable
it is.
radio, so it's Kilo 6
I don't have to
Alpha
say anything.
Romeo
Kevin's
Kilo
a man.
portable radio.
Very solid.
He is a true mountain goat. He is awesome. I think he's up in the Sierra Mountains right now with KM3A. He builds small, little, tiny radios and puts them into Altoids cans and carries them to mountaintops into CW. He has kits that are...
He only has 1.6. Guys.
Communicating around the country in it.
Guys.
Great stuff.
Guys.
And one of the godfather of SOTA, Steve Whiskey...
Oh, yeah, SOTA Goat.
Golf Zero
He's
Alpha
not posting
Tango,
YouTube videos
the
anymore,
Whiskey
though.
Goat. He has an amazing channel out there, and he's kind of started it for all of us. Then I already mentioned Chris, and there's KB1HQS, Kilo Bravo 1,
guys.
Hotel Quebec
By the way,
Sierra.
he sent me
Great
2
channel.
of his antennas.
He's been hiking the mountains over off of the Appalachian Trail recently. It seems like he's been on the trail for weeks
doing
SOTA videos,
all this
doing a really good job. And then last but not least, there's a channel called Punk Rock Hiking, KM6TWI, He's doing a great job in SOTA. He's the one and has the video of how ham radio saved his life and how he went up Mount Baden-Powell and had to call for help because the side of the mountain, the north face of the mountain, turns into an ice sheet. So when they say, when you hear about North Face, the brand, the North Face is no joke.
Hey, that's me.
In any mountain, and there's a reason. You always want to be careful from that North Face in the winter.
Hold on, let me pull that up. Let me go back.
All right, so and if you see the thing, I just put up a bunch of pictures, and you know, I hope that, we can hear a lot of people out there as far as chasers. In reference, if you chase one day and you hear this, or you hear me out there, please say that you heard about it on the OA USA net. I'm so happy that there's so many check-ins. I was surprised. That was great. Any last questions before I pass it over to Dave for last check-ins? Please come now.
Comment?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Josh, KI6NAZ again. I realize, I don't know if we mentioned it, but you know, we're generally packing some radios that have internal batteries. But if you end up with like an 817 or 818 or something that has an external battery, for most of your SOTA activations, you can probably get away with like a 3 amp hour Bio-NO. So I just wanted to add that in. You don't need to overpack battery. You really don't if you're running QRP. Just, again, you know, take a weekend beforehand. You try and use the battery, see how long of a life you get out of it, and you'd be surprised. A lot of these newer lithium ions are absolutely worth their weight in dollars, but also the lack of weight that you have to carry. So keep that in mind. 3 amp hour will probably do good. 5-6 hours probably more than you need. Anyway, that was my comment. KI6NAZ. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Josh. And I know many people have heard this saying, but for the ones that haven't, ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain, and it's no joke. And it's pain on your back, pain on your knees, pain on your soul. But you train yourself and you have fun and you take the things that are necessary for you to enjoy your time. I like bringing camera stuff. I like making nice videos in 4K.
Exactly. I'd rather...
there's a trade-off, and it's completely personal. So just always remember that. I started by trying to make my stuff as light as I could, then I just wanted to bring the stuff that I could have the most and happiest experience with and the best way to share it. So,
great
any
mindset.
last questions?
Good guy. Good creator. He's a busy dude, too. Busy dude. Got a full-time job. Also does search and rescue volunteering. Busy
Yeah, this is David, KN6FPS. If you do like an overnighter, do you just take an extra battery or some sort of solar charger for the battery you have?
It completely depends on how long you want to operate in your given radio that you have. Like Josh said, you're running a KX2 or any kind of QRP rig, a 3 amp hour is good. And that will probably run your KX2 for about I would say a good week.
Yeah.
So you really don't need much. You can, if you're going to be calling CQ like on a field day and you're going up there and you're going for a long time, you probably want to bring you could bring some kind of solar charger and solar controller, like a solar film, very light, foldable solar panel if you want. Overnight it's going to do nothing for you. If you're going to spend a couple days on the trail, then that will help. But if you know you're going to be running a certain thing, you can bring a 4.5 amp hour or 6 amp hour. You just plan ahead, and by practicing and knowing what you got, and run your battery, have fun, get your QSOs, and yeah, it's just doing homework and understanding your kit.
Great, thanks. KN6FPS.
KI6NAZ. I can add a little bit.
Any other questions?
KI6NAZ. I can add just a little bit.
Oh, come back. I just started to key down. Go ahead.
KI6NAZ. Let me just add really quick. The name of the solar panel is Power Film Solar. Also, Bio-NO sells solar panels, and since you're running QRP, you don't need a lot of wattage. So even a 25 watt panel can keep you going all weekend. And consider looking at a Dipole mini solar controller. It's absolutely fantastic. So Dipole makes antennas, and they have a fantastic, actually a couple of solar controllers, but the mini is fantastic for hiking, very light. Anyway, KI6NAZ, thanks. Oh, did I do it again? Did I kill the repeater?
All right, thanks, Josh. Any other questions?
I think we went over. Did we go over? We might have went over.
All right, nothing heard. I want to say thank you, guys. I'm going to pass it back to Dave. And just throwing out there, my email address, W6RIP@outlook.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. You can get on my YouTube channel if you have any questions about any of the videos or any of the activations or anything that I'm doing in it. Leave a comment. I always respond. And our goal is to just get people involved and help you get started.
Go try SOTA.
We pass it forward, pay it forward, however you want to look at it. But we're always looking to get more guys in the hobby. And
this is a long video.
It's something unique. It's something different, and it's fun, guaranteed. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Dave for any last-minute check-ins.
I'm going to turn this down a little bit so I can talk. The last time we...
Thanks, Kevin. You guys, Josh, Kevin, you were terrific. Thank you so much for this tonight. We got probably a little bit of an abbreviated version last time, but this was just absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. All right,
wow,
if you would like to check in but haven't done so, let's do this.
So last year we did this. It was Jerry, Kevin, and then me. And by the time it got to me, there was like nothing I could talk about. Those guys absolutely killed it. Jerry... QCB logged in. He already... Anyway. Jerry is fantastic. But he is a talker. He can talk, and he's smart. He's super smart, so it's absolutely value added. But by the time he got done, and then Kevin got done, Kevin's like, 30 minutes, he said. He ran like 45 or close to that. Anyway, doesn't matter. It was fantastic. But last time, there was absolutely very little I could say, and I sat there like, SOTA's good. I could talk about some activations I did. SOTA good.
All of the IRLP nodes and repeaters that have connected, we really do appreciate that. All the folks on Echolink, we appreciate that as well. Everyone that checked in tonight, great questions. Terrific net.
Good work.
We came within a reasonable reach of having a record number of check-ins tonight, so that's a very good thing.
Damn it.
Also, a special thanks go to our Killer Peak repeater.
I wanted to beat the
Dennis,
record.
You are the best. He has made this
I even posted on YouTube to make it happen.
We really do thank him for that. Also, big thanks to Kent Johnson for the use of his Western reflector. And for those that don't know this, the only way that we can connect all of our listeners, whether it be repeaters, IRLP, or Echolink, is to have one source, and that's the Western reflector. That puts us all together so we can have this conversation. With that, I think we're just about to call it quits. Remember, next week we'll have the continuation, last session of our hand-loading ammunition.
Yeah, come back for that. The IRLP and the Echolink works. You should check them out. And again, we'll go back to the website here. And I'll make sure to post all this. But again, it's the Killer Peak Repeater Association. It is probably one of the best repeaters in Southern California where I live. For anybody that's ever asked how they'd ever want to find a repeater that I may be on, it's this one. That guy keeps trying to log in. IRLP, Echo, the whole deal.
I called in there when you were asking for the late check-ins, but it sounded like you didn't hear me, so I just wanted to get a check-in.
I thought he already did in the beginning.
No, sorry about that. We have got you checked in for sure.
I think he checked in at the beginning.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
I don't know why I'm calling this guy out. Doesn't matter.
K6QCB.
Let me go on there. We'll be doing an after chat on my Discord. I'm kidding. I didn't do that. Is that it? Wow. Usually there's some kind of banter that happens after these. Most nets. Nope, that's just somebody kerchunking the repeater. All right. Anyway, that was a fun little talk. Hopefully, that was interesting to people. Hopefully, I edit this in an appropriate way that will make it more fun than just looking at not really a live kind of thing, because I can't really do what I normally do, right? Because I'm also trying to hold a PTT down. I really should go Vox if I want to do that kind of stuff, or have a foot switch, which I do for HF, but not for VHF UHF, because I don't talk enough really. Other than just rag chewy on VHF UHF. All right. Please do take this as an opportunity to go sub to two fantastic channels, K6ARK and W6RIP in particular. They both deserve it, though, so please. These are both great guys, great creators. Just look at the content. If you don't believe me, try it before you buy it. Go watch the videos, then sub to them. I think that's worth the sub. It's free. Give them a thumbs up, too, and tell them Josh sent you. Actually, please do that. If you waited this long for this whole video, please go to their channels, subscribe, and tell them Josh sent you. I think that would be great. Anyway, all right. That is going to do it. I'll probably do some fun thing to bookend this, an actual going away, bye-bye part. Don't know why I'm still talking. I'm just filling up hard drive space at this point.